We are back. What is up, my beat sorcerers? How you guys feeling? It is so good to be back with you again. The 20 podcast back in effect. You know, we took a little break, a little summer hiatus, a little summer vacation to have some insane experiences. Like I got to do a live show with Travis Barker and Machine Gun Kelly in New York City. I got to play some gigs in Paris, France, in Cannes, in the south of France. This insane week I spent down there. I played an amazing event for the Ninja Turtles movie recently. A lot of insane, crazy things that I got to do that hopefully I will be able to dedicate a whole episode to soon and share all those stories with you guys. But you can rest assured that we are back again on our weekly episode schedule, and we're back better than ever. So thank you guys for tuning in and giving us that little break. As you know, you're listening to the 20 podcast, brought to you by the amazing website and music service Beatsource. Make sure you check out Beatsource link, which is where you can use playlists we've created and basically use the cloud to stream songs. So it's incredible. You can learn more from our other podcasts or from our website, but Beatsource link, you're able to DJ on and off the cloud and DJ all these songs off there. I've been using it and it's growing in popularity. You guys will love it. Go check it out. We've got all our playlists made by DJs for you guys for any occasion. Beatsource link. And thank you to Beatsource and DJ City for letting us do this every week. Thank you for tuning in, you guys, the Beat Sorcerers. I am your host, DJ Spider. Right. Check my website or my Instagram for upcoming gigs. I'm at Floor Room in LA weekly. I'm at Vegas monthly, Tao and Marquee, and a bunch of other places. Got a ton of other shows mixed in at all times. This weekend I'm going to Austin, New Jersey, New York, and got a ton of stuff coming up. So check all that. The actor and writers strike in LA and all over the country is in full swing. So that has shut down most of my Hollywood events. That I usually do, like the movie premieres, TV show premieres, award shows, and all that. But, you know, shout to the actors and writers. We want them to get their way. We want them to get what's fair. So hopefully that gets all worked out soon. But enough about me and my crazy life. We are here to talk about the guests. We've got some incredible guests lined up week after week coming up. And we are kicking it off with someone that I think you will learn a lot from, and hopefully you'll be inspired by as much as I was. He's originally a DJ from Miami, coming up under people like Armin van Helden, A-Track, Todd Terry, and the like. He lived in New York City after that, and then finally in LA, where he is an A&R for Atlantic Records. He recently helped put together a track for Ty Dolla called Motion, which is incredible. I've been playing it. He's a co-writer on the new song from Tale of Us. But besides that, he's been part of hundreds of releases over the years. He's helped put together huge soundtracks for things like Fast and Furious. He's hired many DJs and producers to remix tracks. And he truly understands the connection between being a DJ, producer, and an A&R, which I don't know if all of you or me or anybody out there totally understands. So I think this will be really useful for you guys to listen to it if that's what you're interested in. This episode, he drops endless gems on how you can make moves in the music business. You can further your career in various ways as a DJ, as a producer, as an A&R, and all these different things. It's great. So I learned a lot talking to him. I think you will too. Please welcome to the show, Bailey Small. Thank you for being here.
Of course, man.
Welcome to the 20 podcast. We got Bailey Small in the house. Make some noise. We got cheering from over here.
The air horn.
We got it. It's happening. It's post-production.
Cut it in. Yeah.
It's going on. Yeah,
cool.
We got full Hollywood Bowl cheering going on right now.
Amazing.
Yeah. So you are special. But yes, thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. You know, we've been talking about this for
a minute.
A hot minute.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to finally have you. Also, we haven't done a podcast for a couple months, so I think it's a good welcome back.
Help you kick it back off.
Thank you. I think we got some interesting stuff to talk about, and I'm sure a lot of people know you, and you know a lot of people in the industry, and then there's probably a lot of people that listen that don't know you and will be interested
like, who the fuck is this guy?
Who is this guy?
Yeah,
You know, Mr. Small. I did Google Bailey Small, and there's like some rodeo guy that comes up.
I'm trying to get them to wipe
his
that,
resume was pretty amazing.
Damn.
It was like bronc riding, like not even bronco, just said bronc. Like it had all these,
That's me.
cattle tie down. It almost looked like you when it was a tiny picture. But he had this hat on. You could maybe be him for Halloween, but he was blonde.
Maybe that'll be my retirement plan.
Yeah, I mean, you could switch places with him one day. See if he could do your job.
The way country's going these days, you never know.
Yo, that's true. Actually, he might be tapped into the music that you need to know about.
I had to Google that. That's so funny.
Yeah, Bailey Small, he's out there. There was a couple more, but he was the top.
Yeah, well, I can't compete with that guy. So.
No, you can't. I mean, I want to see him on one of those bulls, the mechanical bulls.
Yes,
he might.
Maybe we'll do a collab.
Yeah, bring him out to Saddle Ranch, have a meeting. Some music.
I like it. We'll make him a star.
So for people that don't know, I'm going to give you an intro in the beginning, and they'll hear it, but. Do you want to describe kind of what you do now? And then we'll talk about your past getting into it. But
yeah, I'm an A&R at Atlantic now.
Right.
I do everything from setting up sessions, finding songs, commissioning remixes, which is how I got started.
Right. Yeah. When I first met you, you were sort of plugging people in, hiring the right people to do the remix for the right artist.
Hey, Charlie Puth has his new song out. We need a remix.
Right.
Bailey, who should we get?
Yeah.
How much should it cost? Can you reach out to them? Can you, everything from the business of it to making sure it sounds right, making sure it's, not a 10-minute, German techno odyssey. As much as we love those, we also need, something for guys like you to play. And
right.
And I think that was a big part of how I got into that, was like being a DJ myself, knowing DJs and knowing how important it is to like have DJs have versions of pop songs that they could play.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, that's what I do now. Is A&R over at Atlantic. Also some producing, which is another part of my background, and some DJing.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. That's amazing. And I think that, it's for some DJs, it's somewhat of a natural progression to be able to get into the A&R thing, because just of how your brain works, and how you listen to music and analyze it already, you're probably doing A&R things before you realize you're doing A&R things.
100%.
And I think A&R is a mysterious title also to some DJs.
It's very broad. And there's a lot of different types of A&Rs
Exactly, too. Right. So, and what would that be? Like, how would you describe the different types?
I mean, there's A&Rs who are like, just know everybody and are,
right.
More maybe dot connectors.
And make connections.
Okay. A&Rs who are, that's a big part of it, no matter what.
Right. All of it, a good A&R probably has an element of all of that.
Sure.
I know you're that kind of person. Like, you're always at cool events. The right cool people. You're always up on all kinds of music. You're in sessions, and
that's super important.
Knowing people.
There's A&Rs who are just great at getting deals done, who are great at like,
right.
So-and-so's coming out of their deal, and I talked to this lawyer, and they just know, and they're really good at bringing stuff into the company. There's A&Rs who are great with, song finding and creation.
Right.
But like you said, you got to have a little bit of everything, because you're really just responsible for the whole run of everything, from even, knowing how to market an artist, and knowing
right.
how to, like keep the gate on, is this right for, should the artist be doing this? Is this the right kind of song? Is this the right video? Is this the right, partnership look, or whatever
right.
it might be? So there's a lot of different types of, of A&Rs, and a lot of different things in the skill set. But for me, it's music and production and all of that first.
Right.
And I'm in the studio most of the time.
Nice. Yeah, in a way you have to be a visionary in certain ways, and somewhat of a creative director, right? Because you have so many different balls in the air. You're juggling stuff, and you are creating the vision for the artist of how they will be perceived, you know.
You got to be like the fan's eye and ear kind
right.
of. And so that's like kind of,
that's interesting.
I like the Rick Rubin mentality of like just being the guy in the room, the guy on the couch who's like, you got to disconnect, because it's easy to be in a session or in with an artist and get caught up in like, oh, this is so sick, I'm here, and and whatever is playing, you're like, oh, this is amazing.
Right.
But you got to like kind of pull yourself out of all that and be like, if I was just Joe on the street and I heard this, would I be excited about this?
Right.
And you know, that's really, really important. And sometimes you got to be able to tap into that in a room of 10 people who are all like jumping off the walls and like, this is the best thing we've all ever heard. And you got to be the guy who's like, well, actually, is it? And, you know, maybe we got to go further.
Right.
So there's that part of it. Jimmy Iovine talks about, I produce the producers, which I think is a useful saying towards like, what does an A&R do? It's like, I'm putting 4 producers into rooms and then I'm telling them, hey, these are our goals. This is kind of what stuff needs to sound like. This is kind of, you know, where we want to go. Try flipping this sample, and then they go and do it.
Right.
So it's like it's like executive production.
Yeah.
And you know, all that rolled
Yeah,
into one.
and you have to sort of be able to make a decision and stick by it, not knowing if it's right or wrong. There is no right or wrong, but it's sort of.
By the way, that's huge, and that's something you learn after a while, because when I was early on, like I would bring things that I felt I was like, oh, I love this, like this is special, whatever.
Yeah.
And people who were more experienced than me, or that were my boss or whatever, were like, oh, I don't know, like nah. And so me being young and new, I was like, oh, they don't like it, so they know, so I'm wrong and they're right, and I would just leave it.
Right.
And some of those things became big records or big artists, and I kicked myself because I was like, damn, I should have stood up.
If you would have stuck by your conviction or your decision or your gut feeling,
exactly,
maybe it could have been different.
So now I'm very much like, I'll fight for things, go with my gut. You know, if someone doesn't connect with something, then I always want to hear why and hear their side of it. But I used to just be like, oh, so-and-so doesn't like it.
Right.
Like, so I guess like I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, of course. And music is so like, I don't know the word. And subjective and ambiguous. Like there is no right answer.
No.
You know?
Exactly.
And there is no psychic process otherwise everyone would just have a hit song, you know? And as much everyone's like, oh, AI is going to make it. Like, no, there's still going to always be these X factors.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I've noticed in good A&Rs is that conviction, you know? And
100%.
And also just I think a lot of music people that are creative have that thing inside of them that they don't want to fail, or they're worried about looking like they're wrong. So then they don't put themselves out there, but you have to be willing to put yourself up on the thing, give your full conviction, right? And then be willing to let it fail and not do well, and then accept the consequences. Or if it does do well, then you were there behind it.
You got to take swings, you know?
Yeah.
And early on in my career, like I was saying, I was maybe not scared to take swings, but I was just like, I was learning, and I was like, you know, and coming from being purely a creative, definitely still had that thing of like, oh, I don't want to miss, I don't want to be wrong, da-da-da.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now I'm like, throw it out there, go, especially with remixes. I mean, because there's so much volume with doing remixes, I've probably been a part of 150, 200 releases at least in my career, and I would, you know, a lot of them came and went. Some of them were nominated for Grammys. So it's like...
Right. And at the end of the day, does anyone talk about the ones that didn't do well? I mean...
Not in like the only time it would ever get brought up is someone like, yo, I loved that one thing. I wish it had gotten more.
Right.
Like, people aren't going to...
But no one ever focuses on like, oh, you messed up. You're an idiot. You know what I mean? But if they find the good one, they're like, I can't believe you did that one good thing out of 150.
People remember you for the one...
Right.
The thing, and it's just like, so you got to take the shots, you got to take the swings, and I think that applies to almost everything.
It does, yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. And then when you were saying like produce the producer and be in the room of 10 people that are all so hype on this song, like, but you know something needs to be changed, or being sent something maybe by someone that you like and you believe in and you know they could do something good, but maybe it's not what you thought. Like, how do you give feedback that's constructive? Or how do you give feedback on something you don't like? Like, I feel like sometimes when I don't like something, my gut feeling is to avoid the person, or like, I'm like, I don't even know what to say because I don't want to, I got nothing positive to say. And I try to get into a zone of being able to give them constructive, but like, you have to do that, right? Like, how do you give them constructive feedback on something you don't like, or give feedback on something that someone sends in that you don't think is good?
I mean, it's a big, it's a big part of the job, and it's something that I've worked on a lot. And I think the number one thing is like, don't go further than you have to go. In terms of like,
what you're saying.
Don't like shit on what they're doing. Just, just having, I think coming from an authentic place and being really real with people goes a long way. But, you got like, I always try to look for something either positive or something that I'm like, you could work on this and you could get there. Sometimes it's just like, I mean, also there's intermediaries. So like maybe a manager that I like will send me something. The manager's not the artist. So because of that, you can be a little more like,
be the bad
hey,
guy.
Like, this isn't quite it. Thanks. Please send me more. The amount of like, a couple of things, I make it a priority to listen to everything that hits my inbox. People text me stuff. DM is a little bit shady, but even DM, like, I'll try to at least like go to your profile and like listen to something, because you never know. And I've been that guy sending my stuff everywhere. And it's like, I think people deserve an opportunity to be heard, but then you gotta be open to like, this might not be it. And you have to realize that that person that you're sending your stuff to is getting a million things.
Right.
And you have to like, it's got to speak for itself, the product, the relationship, how cool you think you are, whatever.
Yeah.
None of that's going to do anything. So anyway, I think to like more precisely answer your question, like when I'm in a room with people, and it's kind of like DJing, like, when you play a song and you just have that feeling where you're like, even if you thought when you were setting your thing up, you were like, oh, this one's going to, and you play it in a room and you're just like, that little thing inside you is like, this is not working. I got to mix out of this quick.
Of course.
You know that feeling. Or the other side of that feeling where you're like, yo, this is connecting. Like, this is like, this is going in my like certified bombs folder. I love this. And so I think it's being in touch with that thing and not letting, how people are feeling sway you one way or another. And then it's like, again, being encouraging. Hey, maybe we should try another idea. Hey, I like to encourage people in sessions to like do lots of ideas, because a lot of times in sessions you got people working together that don't normally get together. Yeah. And it's like people get hung up and spend 8 hours on one song.
Right.
Where I'm like, you guys could do 5 ideas.
Yeah.
And one of them statistically will be really good. Yeah. Versus if you try the one, unless you just nail it, which happens, but
Right, but it's more rare.
It's more rare. It's more like usually the second or third idea, people get warmed up and then it's less pressure of like, oh my God, I'm in this studio and and if I don't do this now, like it's people get into that Eminem, the lose yourself.
One shot.
The one shot. It's like, it's not like that. Just be light and have fun and make something that you feel good about and keep it moving. Yeah. So anyway, in a room with people, it's like maybe suggesting alternatives, maybe just, saying, oh, I'm not sure or whatever. And then when people send stuff, it's like there could be so many reasons for it to not work. They might send me something that I think is great, but I just don't have the right artist for it. So a lot of times it's like, hey, this is cool, but it's not a fit. And, or it's like, again, I try to be like, hey, like I love the the production on this, but the melody needs work. The lyric needs it. This, maybe you could say that with this. But I also will go in on stuff with people of like, if I hear a little nugget of something, I'll go in and be like, let's get on the phone and like, let's make this lyric better. And let's take this from, 60 to 100.
Yeah.
And we might have something here. Right. So I really like to get involved with the process because a lot of times it just takes people being coached and pushed a little bit further.
Oh, that's super interesting. And it's important for people to be consistent and keep going, right? I mean, 100%. Like you said, a lot of times might go, that's not for me, that's not it. And I think that's probably at the point where 50% or more of people just quit or never write you again. Or like I was listening to someone talk today and they're like, yeah, well, I made that EP 10 years ago and nothing happened. And I'm like, well, you
got to do another one.
Do them all the time, or keep doing stuff, because people also see the consistency that you just did the one thing and that's it, and they're like, oh, well, people ask me why I don't do music anymore. And it's because nobody, paid attention to that. And I'm like, well, everyone else is doing a million things on earth. Like you said, we're all being sent a million things. I can't even keep track of the most famous people sending me, things like, let alone just my friend's random remix EP or whatever it is. So I think that's something I struggle with too. Like I'd send it out, they'd be like, we don't like it. And I go, oh, should I send him something else? But you have to just keep it pushing if that's what you want to do.
For sure. And I try to make it a point every note to say, like, but the door's open and and thanks for sending it and send me more stuff.
Right.
Because again, I've been on the other side of that and I've been with that thing of like, you put your heart and soul into something and someone's just like, no. And maybe you don't realize that like, it's not a no to you forever. It's just to that one thing.
Right.
So I try to communicate to people like, the door's open, send me more. And I've had people send me a million no's, but because they keep sending and we keep the door open, then we get something.
Right. And you do things like I just saw you post on your Instagram a writing camp that you just put together and were part of on the East Coast.
I set up a writing camp for some of the best kids at Berkeley.
Oh, okay. That's why it was in Massachusetts.
It was in Massachusetts. I connected with this amazing professor from a class called Writing for the Hot 100. So it's all these
that's so cool,
insanely talented Berkeley kids who have ambitions to be artists or be pop songwriters. Because a lot, Berkeley is like a huge place and it can be a big resource, but it's also could be tough to navigate as an A&R where like you want pop and a certain level of ambition.
Yeah, there's people that just want to play jazz drums, and that's their whole life, and then they'll become a film editor or something.
So I always wanted to do this camp. I had this idea to do it, and then I connected with this guy, Ben Camp, who's fantastic, actually through a writer friend of mine, Ben Samama, who's like one of the best new writers right now.
Wow.
And yeah, I spent like basically a whole semester of these kids' class. Like I would pop in on Zoom and they would send me their demos, and I kind of just like went with the kids who I thought were really, really promising and had them up to a big house and hosted, and we wrote 3 days worth of music, and it was a incredible experience, and going to do it again next year. And I really like stuff like that's super important to me.
That's so cool.
Let's find the next generation. Let's help them out.
Right. And it's a good resource. Like I was in New York and my friend is a teacher at the Clive Davis school. And he's like, you want to come with me to the graduation? I was like, what am I going to do? He's like, no, trust me, just come. And we went
meet somebody.
And we saw every graduate do their final project in a way, which was their song.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. And some of these people maybe won't be big famous people, and some of them will, and it was so cool just to see all of their visions, and to, students are just on a different level now even than before, because with access to the internet and being so connected, it's like they're just so far beyond what past students could have been. I feel like at these schools, you know,
for sure. And every year, whether it's Clive Davis or Berkeley or the Syracuse program, I mean that's more the business, but I mean every year 1 or 2 or 3 kids come out of these that have an impact.
Yeah, he was like, Maggie Rogers was in this program, and he's like, look at her now. I'm like, oh my God. And like different people like that.
All kinds of stuff like that. I think Madison Love was in that. I mean, I went to NYU. I didn't go to Clive Davis. Not putting myself in that category, but you know, like people go to these schools and then they move on to make an impact. So anyway, so yeah, I do stuff like that. I do writing camps that are a little more like professional in terms of at Atlantic Studios with writers and producers who are maybe more established, and that's a big part of what I do. Is just like I'll literally be like with 100 names and like so and so would be great with so and so, and I really enjoy introducing people that I've never met that I'm like, oh, these two are gonna like, and when a connection like that happens, and then like two people end up, you know, you put them in a room together like for the first time. Yeah, it's like a matchmaker.
Like love, but for music.
It kind of is
so similar. Yeah,
and then they're compatible, and then next thing you know, they're writing great songs together all the time.
Yeah,
like that's
so
you can't
cool.
really, you know, there's nothing like that, and so I really that's a big part of everything to me, and that's why I love meeting new people and new writers, and like I just try to keep an open door and an open mind, open ear to like send me stuff. Like you know, if someone is like passionate enough about their work to be like, yo, I do this, da, da, da. I'm like, cool, send me music. Like send me music. Like I love hearing new shit, meeting. You should meet that person, this person, that person. Sometimes nothing comes out of it for me. Right. But just to see, you know, a new connection formed is that's meaningful enough.
Yeah. That's super cool. And like how, you know, you said that you started doing the remix side of things. Yeah. How did you even get into that part?
So,
you know,
always DJing was like the thing. I grew up in Miami.
Right. So you're from Miami.
I'm from
Miami. You went to college in New York.
I went to college in
New
York.
And you live here. So you've been in all sections of the
I've done the
music and United States DJ market, all the different types of people.
The major markets are all
oh, that's cool. Yeah. And when, so I guess to go back before even the job part, like growing up in Miami, were you DJing there at all?
Yeah. So like as you know, Miami, the club culture, even back then, everywhere. I mean, it's just it's huge. Part of it, you know. So
one of the most international parts of the United States. It make you feel like you're in another country. Totally. People stay up till the sun comes up.
And my best friends were, you know, Colombian and Venezuelan and I mean, or Swedish and French, because it's like people from everywhere.
Right.
So anyway, because club culture was so just in our minds, like as kids, I'm talking about like 7th, 8th grade. We were like, someone was having a party at their house. Wow. And it was like, well, we got to have a DJ. Like we didn't even think about it. And that was strange. It was like, okay, we have to have a DJ. I basically like, you know, became that guy, like bugged my parents to buy me stuff, saved up money in summer jobs, bought like a big sound system. And I used to roll around to like, you know, like, I just got the word out and like older, you know, high school kids like, oh, their parents are leaving town. They're throwing a party. And I would get a call like, yo, like you got the sound system and you did the thing, like come DJ. And my dad would drive me to these things. And like, he had this little pickup truck and we'd throw all the stuff in the back and like 5 of my friends. And we would all just jump in and pull up to these houses and like unload. And this was like, I was playing records. I was playing vinyl. I'm bringing 2 turntables. I'm bringing crates of vinyl. I'm bringing lights. I was off my rocker.
Full service.
Like we had a guy stand at the door, like, you know, someone's big cousin, like, yo, like $5 for girls, $10 for guys, like walking home with like a lot of cash some nights. Wow. It was crazy. So that, and then, but also it was like, I had a little space. I was making mixes. I was also playing guitar and like kind of just figuring out like the cool side of music. Yeah. And then, through that, you know, gained a little reputation, started playing at these all ages nights they used to do over there, which was like, this guy would rent out a club and basically they'd buy the whole club out, take all the alcohol out of the building and sell tickets to kids under 21 and they would pack the club out and make money and it was crazy. So I used to DJ those and like those were at Space. Those were at like
really? They would rent out those kind of places?
When I was like 16.
Oh my God.
Multiple times, because those were, you know, it was a little more like, it wasn't as Miami and the club culture thing, it was more not underground, but it wasn't like today's space is like, it's like Disneyland, you know,
right?
It's like so commercial.
Yeah, but even 10, 15 years ago, it was the underground spot, the late night, till the morning spot type
24-hour liquor, you know, all that crazy stuff. But it was not like, it was a little bit like, I don't know, you wouldn't come to Miami to go to space,
right?
The way
like you do now.
Yeah. So I DJ'd at these clubs, and then just kind of through high school, someone like hooked me up with some production software, and I was like, oh, like DJing is kind of like making beats, and that's kind of like, you know, you just learn how it all connects. Started making tracks, and just wound up at NYU, went to New York. Early in my time there, I met like all these great DJs. I met Armand Van Helden, who's like one of my best friends.
Oh, that's so cool. I know I saw a bunch of posts that you have with him on Instagram. And
we're
then
super tight, and he was so cool. He like,
I mean, he's legend of legends, you know, and I mean, he has such a one-of-a-kind brain towards music. I mean,
and he would be like, yo, come through, and I would just like go up to his place, and he would just like show me hours of like old obscure music videos, and the education I got there
priceless,
was
like
insane.
amazing. Yeah.
So that, and you know,
like his taste is like impeccable. You know, just amazing.
And it would be stuff like, you know, I would come up and he would be like, yo, I just made this thing, me and A-Track, like check this out, like what do you think about this? And it was like Big Bad Wolf.
Right.
And I was just like, yo, like
You're like, and that's gonna be
that's
huge.
Good. Yeah. So anyway, like I was DJing, and I you know, got myself in the scene there and doing gigs and this place and that place. And you I'm sure you were around and remember that kind of like late 2000s, like, you know, like ended around 2012, like Webster Hall, Boys and Girls, and like there was just like a circuit and a thing. It was like Blog House and
of course,
Electro and Steve Aoki and A-Track. You know, was like you know, grew familiar with him, and we became friends. And just all that, and like, but I looked up to these guys. Like, before I ever got there, I was like in high school, like watching YouTube videos of them and all that shit.
Right.
So anyway, just to move it along, like did the New York thing, was producing, was DJing, ended up meeting some great people from Atlantic. First of which was John McMahon, who is VP of radio promotions, who's like best friends with Armand. So Armand just opened a lot of doors for me, and would like kind of be like, he would open a door and be like, so like, let's see what you're gonna do with this. And so John and I became super tight, and he would commission me to do remixes for Atlantic. So like, I remixed a Bruno Mars song, and you know, all these, like, they would need like a radio, like a rhythm mix.
Right.
And I would do it. So that kind of like got me into the remix world. And then just as a DJ, I just knew a ton of other DJs. And then basically I moved back to Miami. I was like, DJing a bunch of places there, and had like a little studio, and I started as like a side hustle. People would hit me up, be like, yo, can you do a remix for this? And also, we want to do a remix pack, but we don't know how to do it. We don't know where to start. We don't know any DJs. We don't know how much it should cost. Just, here's a song. Here's $5,000. Bring us back 3 remixes or 4 remixes, whatever. Okay. So I would call all my friends, and I'd be like, yo, do you want to remix Jason Derulo? Do you want to remix whatever?
Yeah.
And did that kind of like freelance for a little while for different executives and managers and whatever. And then Mike Karen, I basically heard through like Instagram that he was looking, and I'd like looked up to Mike from afar, of like,
of course,
McMahon had told me like, yo, you got to know about this guy, Mike Karen. Like, he's who you should like try and be like him.
Right.
And so I'm like looking at what Mike's doing, and then I find out that he wants a remix A&R. to do exactly what I'm already doing this. Like,
it's literally your job that you're just doing without working at a company.
I'm just that guy. Yeah. Like, that's just what I'm doing.
And Mike, I mean, if people don't know who he is, look him up. You know, legend in the game. Boss. Legend. You know, genius, really smart guy. Like, just musical and, you know, could go on forever. Look him up. I mean,
because we could do a whole other podcast about and a lot of the stuff I was talking about before of, like, you know, developing a song and taking a small element and building it into something. I got a lot of this stuff from Mike, because what Mike is so good at is taking a producer's skill set and an A&R skill set and taking the right things, because there's some things as an A&R that you shouldn't do that a producer should do, but then there's some things that make you a stronger A&R. And I learned a lot of that from Mike. Of, like, I was just a producer. I was super raw.
Right. Like what? Like what kind of?
Like identifying a melody or identifying a small part of a song, and, you know, and then getting in touch with whoever did that and kind of guiding them in the right direction of, like, hey, maybe, like, let's take this, you know, these 4 bars and, you know, let's try and say something different, or let's speed it up, or let's try, instead of this ballad production, let's make it a dance song, or I mean, Mike was just so outside of the box with his approach and his thinking, and, like, his ideas and his notes were always so on point. He would be like, it could be anything. He would be like, yo, I think you should take, like, those 2 words out of that line, and you would do it, and it would just be like, oh, like,
you were right.
That's what it needed.
And also, Mike is a DJ.
He's a DJ.
I mean, a real deal DJ. I've been to his house with all the records everywhere, you know.
Mike, DJ, Craig Kalman, who I work for now, who also people should look up if they don't know about him, because he's, like, legendary music business, A&R, record executive, started Big Beat in his parents' apartment when he was, like,
I didn't
18 or 19.
Amazing.
Now is the CEO of Atlantic, heads up all of our A&R, and, like, DJ. By the way, biggest record collection in the United States. Like,
really?
Yeah. Craig has warehouses of vinyl, and he's like, he's such a music guy. Like, it's just so cool to see somebody in his position who's just like, well, let me hear the music. Let me, like, what does it sound like? Like,
he's the boss of this massive record label that puts out every genre and super mainstream, and massive hits.
He's a great music.
But he loves music, comes from DJing, probably knows the most obscure records, songs, 100%. Samples, and everything.
100%. Loves the idea of flipping samples, and gets, you know, I mean, just today we had an amazing conversation about a sample flip that I'm working on, where he, like, you know, he heard the initial idea that I put together for him, and he was like, oh shit, like, go, get this, like, he went, like, electric, you know?
Oh yeah.
So, anyway.
He loves music. It's like, he loves music.
He's a DJ. He started
and that's
as
the
a DJ.
thing. I mean, yeah, and also shout to Miles Beard, you know.
Miles Beard, DJ.
You know, I met you through him, I think, and he's our first guest on this podcast ever. Yes. But amazing A&R, but amazing DJ first off, you know.
And the two are so linked, and I think people need to know that. And, like, Miles I sat with Miles while he would, like, take a vocal from a song he was working on, and, like, he would, on his Serato, do, like, mashups with different references to see which way he should go with the production. And it was like, I mean, I loved every second of that.
Yeah.
And Miles can, like, scratch, and, like, he's crazy on the decks. He's really good.
I know.
So
I've tried to get him to DJ a couple times in the past couple years. He's like, no. I'm like, come on, just come play with me.
Dude, let me know if you get him out to spin. That'll be tight. But anyway, so just all that to say, like, Mike DJ, Craig DJ, Miles DJ. I mean, and, you know, people beyond these are people in kind of our small, you know, our
and
tight
not like
orbit.
It's crucial, but I think it really plays a huge role into being good at that
for sure
job.
You can be a great A&R without being a DJ, but I think more DJs should think of themselves as potential A&Rs
and realize they're doing some of those jobs already for free, like you were just telling me, right?
Exactly.
So you were doing that. You end up meeting Mike, finding out that or hearing about Mike that he needs someone to do exactly what you're doing already as a side project.
Exactly. So get in touch with Mike. you know, was lucky to have the connections at Atlantic already through the work I had already done, to where I could make a phone call and be like, hey, like, Mike's looking for this kind of thing. Like, I think it should be me. And get in touch with Mike, do a couple of freelance, like, you know, not spec, but consultant projects for him.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he called me and was like, I think, like, this is going well. Like, come move out to LA. So I moved to LA, and that's really where. And when I moved to LA, I like thought I knew what I was doing, but in retrospect now, I was like, I was not. I was like, I had a lot to learn, and I learned quick, and you know, from there it was just like, started doing remixes for, and the APG roster was insane. It was Charlie Puth, and it was Bozzy. I mean, Bozzy's first big hit. I was a part of a lot of these big breakout hits for people who went on to become big artists as the person who got the remixes. So Bozzy Mine did the remixes for that. Shout out to Tazita, who's one of the best ears, and just Tazita Makuria, who's like amazing A&R. And she signed Bozzy, and her and I worked together on a lot of stuff. And Ava Max, Sweet But Psycho. And like, I was in the trenches with Ava Max, like, because at a certain point I kind of became like the Swiss Army knife at APG of like, oh, you need a dance video done? I was just like hungry and trying to fill in any role. So I'm working with Ava, and Mike held on to, he was so, and it was like a PhD in like breaking an artist. And like, he had this song that he knew was a hit, but he was like, I'm going to hold this song for like 9 months, put out other stuff, build, and it just worked.
Oh, that's interesting. Like, don't be too impatient with the putting out the song you know will be a hit, because if there's no foundation underneath it may not become the hit that you think it will be.
And that's what happened. And it was, I mean, it was unbelievable to see that. And it was kind of funny, because I was like, you know, I was working on it, but we had it for a long time, and it was sort of maybe a little bit on not the back burner, but I was just like, I didn't know quite when the song was coming out. And then all of a sudden it started to move really quickly, and it was like, okay, we need like an amazing remix for this right now. And so I went, did something quick, got my buddy Morgan Page, who's unbelievable producer.
Oh, so good. He was on the podcast too.
Super cool.
Yeah, he's great.
So he did the remix we did together, and I think it's one of his biggest releases ever, which is crazy to me, because I was like in 8th grade listening to Longest Road, like, oh yeah, my God, Morgan Page is the shit, you know?
Yeah. He's so cool. Great guy. Super talented. Great very producer. Smart. Yeah. Great producer. Yeah. You know, has that whole tips and tricks thing he did too.
Yeah. And he's fantastic. So anyway, that's kind of how things
that's
started, and
amazing to hear.
And then then Mike, like 6 months in, this goes to show of like his vision, but also just how important it is to like just take swings and like try shit with people. Like, Mike was like, hey, I have this label that's just kind of sitting, and like, I want it to be a dance label, but I don't have anyone to run it. It's called Parametric.
Okay, I was gonna say, is it that Parametric Records?
And do you want to run it? And you know, I'll give you shoestring budgets, and you have to do everything, but like, it's yours. Like, sign anything you want, and
that's exciting.
Whatever. So obviously I said yes, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I brought DJ Benzi, who you're probably familiar with,
of course,
and who. To rewind a little bit, in my DJ days, like, Benzi signed my first record to his label, and we always stayed close. And
yeah, Benzi's the man. I got to get him on here, actually.
You should.
We've had some crazy stories from the past, you know, crazy
DJ
times, been judging Red Bull 3 style events, you know, like 10 years ago in Ohio, and who knows, but I still use his website to this day, and
it's the best.
He's, you know, it's insane, like, you know, but yeah, he's great.
He's just a wealth of, so him and I work together really well, because his
work ethic is insane.
Crazy. He would come in with like a million things to play me. It's like, and then I would be like, okay, this, that. Right. So anyway, I brought Benzi on, and we started Parametric, and we had a pretty short run because the pandemic cut things off.
Right. I was wondering what happened. Yeah.
The pandemic kind of threw a like a kind of a wrench in it, obviously, and then you know, I'm sure you know, APG was bought out by Atlantic, and when that happened, it was kind of just like, okay, like this is done. Like it was, you know,
Atlantic's like, we have other labels. We don't.
And I went over to work at Atlantic, and it was just kind of like, it was, you know, the time was, it wasn't, there was nothing to do really on it anymore. But in the time that we did it, I mean, we signed, we had records from, you know, we had a Kevin Gates like trap song, and we had we did a lot of stuff with Lay Youth, and we did Don Diablo, and we did a lot of like underground. You know, we signed a couple Kyle Watson records that were like,
you had some dope just songs too. I don't even know what genre they were, but I would play them, and they were on my playlists at home.
A bunch of stuff where it was really cool because I wanted it to be like a cult. You know, we signed Shipwreck, their early stuff.
Oh yeah,
and I wanted it to be like cultural. Like I wanted it to be like obviously stream and make money and da-da-da. But I was like, okay, we'll get there. I want to start with like, I'm going out all the time. I'm at every festival. I want to hear this stuff organically without me having to push it.
Yeah.
And that's what ended up happening. You know, I would go to a festival or I would be out, and a lot of times like one of our records would be like the big highlight of a big moment. So so that was really satisfying, and I learned a lot because I did everything, absolutely everything.
Right.
From the deal making to the paperwork to marketing and product delivery and artwork and video. I mean, I was directing videos basically. Like,
wow,
it was insane. So yeah, so that's and then, you know, from that started to sign more full on artists and producers to publishing, and just learned a lot from there. And then went over to Atlantic almost 3 years ago.
Wow, that's so cool. What a great story. And so now at Atlantic, I know you just did that record with Ty Dolla Motion, right? Mm-hmm. Which I love. I've been playing it. It's really dope. Really musical. It's of the time. Yeah. It's a dope mix of Afro beats or amapiano and American R&B, I guess, and rap. I mean, I don't know how you describe it, but
I think it's like, it's got like a housey Afrobeats thing, but it's an R&B song, and it's Ty.
Definite catchy hook, like sticks in your head forever, you know, and the beat is super dope. I don't know who made the music, but
that's Strive, who's an unbelievable producer.
So good.
He's
I love it.
Shout out
like
to Strive.
sonically it's dope, and musically
and
it's
Will
dope,
Larson.
You know?
Will Larson who did production on Nico and Vin's Am I Wrong?
Oh yeah.
Huge record.
Yeah.
Will's like, Strive and Will are great because like Will is like a sound, like he just has like the most obscure like keyboards and like these little instruments that you're like, what even is that?
Right.
And then Strive is like amazing with drum programming and like knowing how to dial in some of these like new beats. Like, you know, he knows how to get like an amapiano sound or like a Afro beats or like kind of music. Like he's super on point with it. So they linked up and they did that. With Jim Levine writing it, who's a perennial favorite, you know, amazing songwriter. But yeah, I mean, that record, like, I love that you connect with it because, and one of the things about that as it's been building since we put it out is like, I've been hearing it out. I've been hearing DJs who I have nothing to do with playing it. And I think, you know, there's a lot of different ways to make a song and have a song become prominent. And there's viral hits and there's TikTok and there's all these things. But like for me, what I know and what I enjoy is like having a record be like everywhere with DJs and like in the clubs. And then you just keep hearing it. And then eventually it builds and builds and builds.
Right.
And like it's a, you know, like a slow burner. So
yeah. And it's organic.
It's organic. And we made that, you know, with that in mind. And a lot of my ear always gravitates towards like, okay, if I was DJing, what would I want to hear and to have to play? So yeah, it's super cool to hear that.
Yeah, it fit in perfectly to the sets I do at Floor Room or any sort of event that I can play that kind of vibe and BPM and whatever it is, you know, just the whole thing. So it's great. And so, and with that record, like, were you, you know, there's obviously a bunch of people involved in it, but you were kind of piecing it together the way you do A&R wise.
Yeah, it was pretty like straightforward. Like they had the demo, and again, this
and
goes,
who did
Strive and Will and Jim.
Okay,
and this goes to
does Ty Dolla have like his own A&R that he always works with, or is he just
he's like he has a few people.
Okay,
like he's such an unbelievable artist that like
he
and
can do
he's
anything,
such a
it seems
cool like open-minded guy where like he'll listen to a record from any wherever.
Yeah.
But my relationship with Craig is
right? He's on that new Alesso record too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which I also play there, and it's also cool. It's also like
great song,
118 BPM, but it's house, but it's not. It's like almost like I don't know how you describe it. It's like pop.
Yeah, it's like a bass house. I mean, Alesso
it's almost like dark pop. That's almost house, but that's funky and cool, and it works perfectly in those rooms I play at.
And Ty's so good at that kind of thing of like, I mean, he's jumped on so many great electronic
his
records.
voice is like an instrument in a way where it links up with the synth so good, and
he's I mean, I've been lucky to be in a room with him while he cuts something, and it's like you're like, this guy
you're like, this is why he's successful.
Yeah, he can play keys, he can, I mean, he can do like he records his own vocals sometimes, like he's just like,
I believe all that.
Crazy. So no, that was like pretty straightforward, but kind of speaks to what we were talking about of like doing sessions and setting people up and introducing people and having people, just facilitating an environment that's creative and open and not necessarily like demanding anything out of it right away. Strive and Will and I had all gotten close through just sessions that I had put together.
Right.
And none of those sessions necessarily came out with songs that got used, but because we trusted each other creatively and they knew who I was, that record got sent to me and I was like, oh, this is great.
Right.
And I played it for Craig and Craig was like, this is great. And we were like, what, like, who could do this? Okay, let's send it to Ty. Sent it to Ty. He loved it, cut it, and did his own thing, touched up what he had to touch up. And we went through a long process of mixing and post-production and all this stuff, but yeah, that's how that came together.
That's so cool.
And it's again just like it might not be that one thing that you do at that one time, but it's more just like believing in people and keeping them close, and something down the road might be that thing.
Yeah, that's where relationships come into being, and even working together, like you said, and not necessarily making the hit that time, but knowing that you can work together or getting to know the people's style of the way they work or the way they produce or what they're good at, and this person's good at that and that, and then
keeping an open door too, and listening to everything. I mean, I just was lucky to be a part of a David Guetta single that he put out last week with Clementine Douglas, and that was a song that was like pitched to me, was floating around. We were like, oh, we want to do this with it. We just knew.
Which song is it?
It's called Something to Hold On To.
Okay.
And
not sure if I've heard it yet.
Yeah, it just came out. Not even, I think it was 2 weeks ago. So, but check it out. It's a great song.
Yeah, I will.
And great vocalist Clementine Douglas. If you don't know her, she's
I don't.
Unbelievable. And that was like, again, believing in the song for a long time and like, try this, doesn't work. Try that, doesn't work. But we know this is great. And got the song to Guetta, and he obviously heard it, connected with it, loved it, and did his thing. Him and Morton, they have the Future Rave thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a Future Rave, and they put this, unbelievable stadium-sized production on it, and next thing you know, it's a David Guetta song. So it's just like another one of these things of like, it might not be this thing right here. I mean, it took months and different tries, but ultimately it was a great song, and we kept at it.
Yeah, that's so cool. What about, I know it's kind of the buzz thing right now, and who knows anything, but what about AI?
I think AI is pretty cool. I mean,
yeah, like how does that factor into any of the work that you guys are doing? Would that ever be a thing where someone sends you the demo that AI made for Ty Dolla $ign? Like, I don't even know.
Ty's got his own AI, and Ty loves AI. Like
really,
he's like
he has his Ty AI
of him because he loves
AI
it like,
Ty
that he made. Like he's like
and then what, he can just tell it to do the song, then he can decide if he wants to do it.
Yeah,
I don't
like
even know.
you know, I think he's just a creative and and you know like he's a guy who just wants to if something is cool, he wants to get into it.
Yeah.
So
but
he's
seeing how like realistic the voices are getting and how like you know, you got Johnny Cash doing, you know, Sweat Drops Down My Balls, Lil Jon, you know, or whatever they're doing, these crazy ones. Like it is the best ones have been novelty in a way.
For sure.
You know, that's the greatest use of it so far has just been making people laugh.
And you said it, I think it's novelty.
Yeah, but I wonder, will it become, because even the ones where people are like, I love hearing Biggie rap Tupac, but it's like, okay, is anyone actually listening to that after the week that it got popular on TikTok? Yeah. I don't know.
I think because it can't really do anything new.
Right.
Like it can't. Like all it can do is an impression of like it's teaching off of stuff that you're feeding it. So because of that, I think like it can't synthesize, you know, obviously everyone is inspired and stuff, but like an artist is doing something new, you hope, you know?
Yeah.
Or at least they're not doing something that's exactly the same as whatever. Right. Whereas like right now the AI is like, you know, it does a great like, oh, this Drake AI song sounds just like Drake. It's a banger, whatever. But like, it's doing its best impression of Drake.
Yeah.
Like, so I think because of that, right now, it's like I don't think AI is gonna like replace artists necessarily, but I think it's like anything. It's a tool that some artists are gonna figure out how to use. I think you need a person driving and making decisions.
Right.
But it's like you know, it's like a drum machine. I mean, like there's pre-programmed patterns in drum machines that are used on hit songs, but what made it that and what made it art is a person making the decision like, oh, I think that's dope, I'm gonna combine it with this and that. So like I think if you took an AI and like fed it something and then recontextualize it or like sampled an AI or whatever, it's like, it's definitely there's definitely something to it as a tool. And I think the AI production where like you type in, you know, oh, something, like make me a reggae song and then in this key, and then you have a backing track. I like that as a door opener for young artists who might not have access to production, producers, or they might not have budgets. And I think there's artists who are like blowing up off of that, where like what they're doing vocally and lyrically is cool and different, and they have AI supporting them as their producer. Right. So, you know, I think it's definitely like interesting. I'm not like scared of it. I don't think it's going to take our jobs. I think it's another tool in the arsenal of a creative person. But you always need, even like Mid-Journey, you know, the image thing. Course, I love Mid-Journey. Like,
I used it. I just made this playlist series and I used it to make the artwork for it, and it looked doper than what I had before.
But you still are making decisions. I mean, you feed it, you tell it to do something, it gives you off the bat 4 options. Right. And you're deciding which one.
And my friend ended up helping me do it, who is an amazing designer. He's the one that sort of drove the Mid-Journey to make it the really dope thing, because I'm making some crappy thing, and then he knew how to work it in a way
to say,
where the same way a musician with a music AI is going to know how to freak it and flip it better than just a random person where they think, oh, anyone's going to do it. But it's like, I don't know, you know.
So there's the novelty portion, which is like, you know, we talked about that, you know what that is. But I do think that there's room for it to be like a cool creative tool. I just don't, but I think people like freak out and they're like, oh, it's it's AI's ruining music. And it's like, no. Like, that's not a thing. You can make some really shitty stuff with it. Yeah. But it's not going to like take over or whatever in that way that people are like scared of.
Right. If anything, the only thing I could see easier taking over is, like you said, the people who make like background music for TV shows and commercials.
Yeah, maybe that.
I guess because when you were saying, oh, you can just type in this kind of thing, they won't need some person to make that.
Yeah.
You know, and there are people that do that, I guess.
But maybe that's
like anything else that gets taken over by technology, you know.
I think maybe that person becomes someone who's really good at working the AI rather than doing it themselves. But there's still a level of customization that you need a person for. Like you can only get an AI to be so precise on things. But,
right.
But I also think that like artists like a Drake, like, or anyone, like I think Grimes posted something that was like, if anyone uses my voice for
I'll give
AI,
you some of the money or
like
the song,
I'll clear it and we'll split it, and like that's smart. Like and I think that these, you know, artists are entitled to royalties because it's the way AI works is it's learning off of stuff that's already been done. Right. So it's like sampling. To me, it's like sampling,
interpolation. Yeah. It's like combining those two into some insane technology that can do both in a way.
Totally, yeah.
Like beyond, that's crazy. What about like putting together soundtracks? I know you've been part of that side of things as well. Is that different, you know, in a way from the other stuff we were discussing? Yeah,
a little bit. I mean, the bones of it are the same, but then you also have to, you know, accommodate the movie and because
what are some of the ones you've worked on, like Fast and Furious?
Fast and Furious.
I mean, those are massive.
And you know, like the song that I did for Fast and Furious was we tailor made it to the scene. Like they were like, it was during the pandemic and they were on Zoom like playing us clips that were like all watermarked and like top secret, but so that we could get certain edits to certain, you know, transitions in the
of course
in the movie, and like that shit is hard, man. Like
I was just watching Mark Ronson just posted yesterday a video of him and Dua Lipa redoing the song they had made for the Barbie movie, so it then matched perfectly with, even to the point where Margot Robbie's hands go up in the air, and like it's really cool to see that process.
Yeah, it's just another layer of precision on top of already trying to make a great song. It's like okay, but it's got to fit this exact mood, and it's got to do this at this time, and like you know, I mean, Fast and Furious, they're driving off a mountain, and it's got to feel like and they're in this location, and so it's got to. So there's a lot more things to consider, but you know, the process is kind of at its root. It's the same. Yeah, you know, it's the same thing, and we started that with like. That one we started with a really talented producer, Zach Burgett, and he has a bunch of different projects. He's like insane drum and bass, house, whatever. This guy's like a machine, and it was just a bunch of tracks that he sent, and we picked a few, and then there was one that was like. Because then it goes like, okay, they got to temp it into the film, and does it work with the scene, and and it was just it's a whole thing, you know.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a fun challenge, the soundtrack stuff, because it's like you got to really be so precise and fit the mood, and rather than just like, is it good or not? Like, does it fit the artist or not? And it teaches you how to like really zone in on a brief and on, you know, a direction.
Right. And what about like, so let's say a DJ or producer is sending things and they start to make some headway on, you know, either getting music placed as a beat in a song that's being written, or to get hired to do a remix. Like, how are those deals structured, or like what's the most people get paid or the least people get paid, or like how does
everything's different,
you know, right?
It depends on where you're at, you know. If you're brand new, and if you're brand new and like someone's taking a swing on you, like you get $1,000, that's nice. I mean, whatever.
And you're saying for a remix?
For a remix.
So for a remix, mainly it's buyout, because I think sometimes people think, oh, that remix blew up, I'm gonna get $1 million now. But like, unless you have some sort of clause in there where, oh, the remix hits 10 million plays and then you get an extra $10,000.
Exactly.
Basically, you're getting paid $1,000, and that's it. And then it can be your calling card around the world
Right.
to get booked, but you're not making any more money.
Not necessarily.
If you're just a starting out person or
If you're
making
just starting
your
out, or
first
even
deal.
if you're
you're
not
like Purple
starting
Disco
out-
Machine or something, and then you're gonna maybe make the song blow up more, maybe you can negotiate.
You
a
can
different
negotiate.
deal,
It
yeah.
depends on where you're at, but typically, because the way a remix works is it's the same revenue stream of the original master.
You mean in streaming?
Yeah.
So like if the remix or the original gets played,
It all goes to the
the
same.
writers, producers, whoever owns the parts of the
Correct,
songs will
correct.
get
Exactly.
a piece of that.
So because of that, it's like, to give away pieces like publishing or points on a remix is difficult because the artists and the writers have to be on board because they're giving away. Sometimes it's like us from the label trying to convince the artist like, no, you need it. You got to do this.
Well, because
like,
sometimes the remix becomes the bigger one. Even that Elton John Dua Lipa, I mean, like the remix is the main
Was the
song
one.
at this
Yeah,
point. There's
yeah.
a few other ones like that, I think.
for
you
sure.
know?
And I think it's like, I think you gotta, as a remixer, you gotta play like the what's my next thing game, and like you get paid if you have something blow up like that, like you cash in on the next one.
Yeah.
Or the gigs, or the whatever.
Right.
Like,
and you use that as your momentum with the snowball, like just okay, make it bigger, and keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
So worrying about if you get 1,000 versus 2,000 maybe
sometimes
sounds good in the moment, but maybe
Yeah.
futile and pointless.
And sometimes there's opportunities. Like, I mean, look, if you're a DJ, like, if a remix stands to get you from 10K a gig to 20K a gig,
It's
like
huge. Yeah.
who cares? Like if you take 5, whatever. So I think, and a lot of like a lot of DJ, I mean, everyone's different, but there's a lot of really smart people who I've worked with who have done stuff because they like it or because they understand what it can do for the bigger picture. And it's like, you might think, oh, it's going to be so much money. And they do it for, still a good fair fee, but, knowing that it's a bigger picture and, I mean, I've had people have their biggest release with a remix that we've done together or be nominated for a Grammy or whatever.
Right.
And then the other side of it is like a remix can really help a song, and a remixer deserves, a fair fee and sometimes bonus structures or points in publishing. And if there's a relationship or, goodwill between, if an artist is a fan of a remixer, it makes the conversation a little bit easier of like, hey, maybe some points, maybe some publishing, all that kind of stuff. But so that's how that works. And similar with with being a producer and getting beats placed, and it's like,
right, like how do you figure out how much percentage you get within that situation?
I mean, there's standards, there's typical things of like producer royalties, and like 3 points is like the starter, and publishing usually splits somewhat evenly between everyone that was like involved originally, and then as people come in later in the process, maybe they get like a lower piece, or like if someone did less. And I think publishing is usually like, of course there's always back and forth about stuff, but it's usually like everyone kind of knows.
Yeah.
And it's,
who's at the end of the day deciding that? Lawyers,
it has to be a
or
mutual.
A&R?
No,
everybody.
the writers, the people who did it are really the ones who make the decision. And it's just like, you got to play nice, and you got to be a team. You got to like, because one person can jam the whole thing up.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I think it's like, it's better to just get shit out there than like, I think people get really hung up on like, oh, like, what is my deal gonna look like? And da-da-da-da. And like, of course, get a lawyer. Don't sign something crazy. Like, cover yourself, protect yourself. But also like, if you gotta make a compromise to get a big opportunity, like, this is, you got to do it. Like, it's competitive. Like, someone else could be out there. Someone else is definitely out there 100%. Trying to take your spot.
Yes.
So, put some distance between you and them by get this and get that. And then like 5 cuts later, you have someone like me, an A&R, being like, oh shit, we got to get Johnny 20 grand because he did XYZ.
Right.
And that's how the powers that be, who ultimately make the decisions, write the checks, that's how they make a lot of these decisions.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, that's super interesting. It's cool to, peel back the curtain and kind of hear that side of things.
Yeah.
And I think for other people listening that are trying to get into that world, you know what I mean? But feel a bit lost, like, well, what do I do? You know, or I make music, but where do I go from here?
Also, like, there's a time and a place to worry about those things. Like,
yes,
send the music, go crazy, Like, it's not 99% of people, they're not going to put out your song without, clearing it. Like,
right. People get so worried, or they listen to so much internet advice, and that it almost makes them stagnant.
I've never had an experience in my direct, career, my direct experience where like we've been like, oh yeah, like we're gonna steal this thing and we're gonna
and you do this every day of your life.
Like I've never like we have a whole freaking department of lawyers who are like yelling at us like, make sure we don't get sued.
Right.
And it's like we're not in the business of stealing the little guy's idea.
Good end game.
What's the point of that? Yeah, like, for sure.
Exactly.
So, I think now there are times when things are inspired by other things, or so one person samples something and then someone else is like, oh, I could do that sample but better. And like, just because you sample something, like you don't own it. So I think maybe people get salty about that sometimes, but in terms of like, if you send me a beat or you send me a song and like it gets used, like I'm going to make sure you get taken care of. And every A&R that I know and every manager and every whatever that I know is in that same boat, because it's just not, maybe there was a thing of the old business where, steal people's beats or but like that doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
To my knowledge.
It's relationships, and who would want to have that?
Who wants that?
And it's going to get around at the end of the day. It's a big world, but it's a small business and small community.
But having said that, like once you get to that stage, like you need a good lawyer. Yeah. You need someone who can, or someone who has experience with these type of contracts, just to look at it and make sure there's nothing crazy, and like you need someone who can say to you like, hey, like this is what you're signing, this is what it means. Yeah. And by the way, that person could say to you like, this isn't the best deal, but like, how do you feel about this? And you might just be like, dude,
I just want to work and go forward. Like, this is the first thing I'm going to do out of a million. Exactly. So let's just go forward instead of holding it up and then nothing will ever happen. Totally. You'll be sitting on this stupid
I've done
song
so much
forever.
Shit that I've never gotten paid or credited or anything for. And it's like, I'm like on the other, I'm on the other end where I like have to, remind myself of like, make sure you get the thing for this. Cause like, to me, I'm always looking at the next one, but that is the way you move forward. If you're so concerned about like that beat you did in 2018 and like,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Exactly. Do you have any like dream collabs or projects that you want to work on or in the works? Or?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm really lucky with some of the people I get to work with. Like, I get to work with Tiesto, and he's just like, that's Tiesto. Like, he's, what can you say about that?
He's the king. He's the
Especially
king.
me growing up, electronic music fan, Miami.
Yeah, Miami.
Like, oh, shit. Like, when Tiesto is in front of you and you're like, you're Tiesto, and it's like, he's the most awesome guy ever. He's like so cool, so nice. So that's cool.
And he's always kind of going with the trends and putting music out.
He's like, what's new? What's next?
Yeah.
Like, he's such a...
Like, I just heard his new songs, and they always sound different.
He evolves. He evolves. And he gives the young guys a shot, and he's really, really smart and open with that part of him. But I mean, obviously, okay, so that's like, yes, people I get to work with that are great. I mean, I love classics. Like I love, like if I was, if this was 20, 30 years ago, I would be like, oh, like Quincy Jones. Like,
right.
I love Quincy. Like,
Yeah.
I love Nile Rodgers. He's still active. I would love to get something with him.
SG Lewis, I think, just had a song with him.
SG did something with
really
him.
Good.
Yeah. SG Lewis is amazing.
Oh, so
Big
good.
Fan of him.
Love.
Yeah, but like Nile would be really, really cool. People that I could learn something, like learn a lot from. I feel like I'd love to, like, maybe not work with, but just get some experience with like Herb Alpert. Who's just like A&M Records. Like, I didn't really know how significant he was until I just watched this documentary on him, and I'm like, this guy.
Oh, I gotta watch that. I know a little bit about him, but same.
A&M was, first of all, he like broke Quincy in a way.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
Quincy was doing his thing, but A&M, which was Herb Alpert's label, put out all the big Quincy albums. You know, the Soul Makosa, or no, the James Bond, the Austin Powers one.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah. When he was in the jazz bossa nova
exactly.
Kind of era.
Yeah, and
I think Herb Alpert has like a bar here in Bel Air or something, right? Or there's there's some place that you can go. I didn't know this,
but Herb Alpert wrote it slips my mind, but like one of these huge iconic, like, you know, 50s, like early rock and roll, like in the era of like Twist and Shout, like one of those big songs, and he wrote it with Lou Adler.
Oh wow.
And like they were best friends. They're best friends like since forever, and
crazy.
Obviously Lou Adler, the Roxy, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, so those things. On the modern side, like I'm a big fan of her. That would be really cool. She's great. Love Skrillex. And you know what those guys do is so forward thinking.
Hell yeah.
I mean, as a fan, I love like Lil Baby, Future, all that. Like once in a while, I try to get beats over to them. You know, I think it's less of my world of full collaboration.
Right. But it's still, they do such dope music.
I love what they
and
do.
Very consistent.
Consistent.
I know my kid's 10 now, and he's like, can I go to the Drake concert? Can I go to the Lil Uzi Vert and Lil Baby? I'm like, I think so. I'm like, I'm the DJ dad, but I'm like, am I crazy for bringing him?
Drake is another one too. I think Drake is like, I'm such a fan.
Yeah.
Just his whole, like, you know, his versatility and his attention to detail and quality. Like that would be a dream collab or whatever.
That's dope.
Yeah, man. I don't know. There's a lot. You know, there's a lot of
good
stuff.
List.
It could go on for forever. I mean, but you know, I just try to listen to as much new, different stuff and get inspired. And whether it's like, you know, the most obscure fucking techno thing. There's this guy Dennis Sulta who's like amazing. He's got a boiler room popping off, and
oh really?
I've just been like, oh, this is like, you know how you do like on the DJ tip, like, oh, I gotta, what's that one? Let me put that in my set, and then and then obviously like the biggest stuff, and you know what I love is that Despacio thing. Do you know about that? It's like James Murphy and Soulwax.
And Soulwax, yeah, too many DJs, and they built that special system, like the sound system from
crazy.
It's their own one of a kind thing, and then they tour it around with those trucks, and they had it at Coachella, and
it's like in a tent, and you walk in, and you're like, I'm in the best. Right. I'm in Studio 54 right now,
and it's the best sound, and it's all in a circle, and they're playing off
disco ball,
crazy
vinyl with the mixer and everything is,
and everything's off vinyl, and like the most impeccable quality, and like
amazing. And it's like but what I love about that is like they built a world, and it's so. It knows what it is. Yes. It's not wishy-washy. It's not like, oh, it's this, it's that. It's just like, you're just you're going to get,
they're doing what they want, you know, and I mean, obviously, as DJs, you know, James Murphy from his DJ thing, but too many DJs, Soulwax, like.
Unbelievable.
They're unreal, yeah. So.
I think like probably 2 or 3 separate times while I was in that tent in Coachella, I was like, this is the best piece of music I've ever heard in my life. Like, like what is this?
It's funny because they'll play some really weird stuff. I listen to their mixes, and then if I try to download and play it, it doesn't always exactly have the same feeling.
Context,
but when they're playing it, I'm like, what is this? You know, like losing my mind, and then I try to find it.
You're like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, those are
dope.
a few things, dream collabs, things I'm inspired by.
Amazing.
You know.
Yeah. And speaking of the Despacio, I mean, I was, you know, like I said in the beginning, like you go to a lot of really cool events. I see you're, you know, from just knowing you for a while and then seeing you online. I know you're at so many cool festivals and clubs and all types of events. Like that one thing you just described sounds amazing. What are some of the other best stage shows you've seen, like from a DJ perspective? You know, like I know they have that guy. Who are the people who do that guy hanging upside down, like Tale of Us?
Tale of Us, yes.
And it's
they're
like
amazing.
the big screen,
huge
and
screen.
I mean the visuals look like you're like, am I looking at CGI or is this really a crowd
crazy.
looking at this screen? Like
and Matteo, who's Anima, is like, he's such a visionary. Like he just like wanted to do that and like went through every single.
How do they make it so big everywhere they go?
They just have a certain thing that they're like, this is what we need. This is what we need
to do this show. This is what we need.
And I love that about Matteo, because he's so committed to like the vision he has, that it's like, I'm only gonna do it if it's like this. So yeah, those guys have an incredible show. You know, I can never discount just like a great DJ set.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
those have been some of the greatest nights.
Energy, like, I mean, like, it's as much as it's like he's my guy, whatever. But like when Armand plays, it's just so like, every second is right, every record is right, and it's happy and, you know, upbeat and fun. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. And certain festivals, like I love EDC. EDC is just like so like what they do there and the way they transform the whole that whole speedway is just like incredible. And like everything from like you know, Jaws brought out Snoop Dogg one year and I was there and I was just like, this is amazing, and like this is so much fun, and like, and then, or you know, like my guy's Side Piece.
I love their stuff, man.
They're the best. Yeah. And they're such good producers. And they just did the main stage and it was just like insane. Like, oh my God, like what am I even looking at? Like, you know, but the crowd is so, I think it's everything. It's the crowd, it's the environment, and it's the music and the energy of the DJ. But yeah, I love EDC. What else? I love a lot of these Insomniac things. I mean, they do such a great job.
Every year, all this stuff. I just watched something with like, they showed the Tomorrowland stage from the beginning to today, and it was like so
insane.
crazy.
That's one I need to go to.
I've never been either.
I need
just
to go
seeing
there,
what it's been built into is like, oh my God. The production is just insane. I mean, some of these people, I've been seeing certain DJs where, like you said, some people, I don't even care what the visuals are. Their DJ set is so good. And some stuff's almost the opposite. Like, the visual was so dope, and then I don't even know what I listened to. Like, I'm not saying it's bad, but it was just like
a middle ground.
It was almost like a score of a movie. It was just like wow, wow, wow.
But and the way that the Tale of Us guys do it, I really like, because it's like it's so synchronized.
Yes,
it's like so like the, you know, when the knocking is like of the robot on the fourth wall is synchronized with the track, and it's just like, whoa, that was like,
whether you're sober or not, it's probably insane to watch.
So yeah, stuff like that. And then I don't know, anything, you know, like anything on a beach, like it's funny. It's like, oh, what, you know, when someone's like, oh, you like music? What's your favorite song? And you're like, I don't know. So
it's so hard. I mean, that's like me, even with having like a family and a kid, you know, I'll be like, he's like, what should we listen to? And I'm like, damn, why is it more pressure to put on music for my wife and kid in the car than to go DJ like a 2,000 person club?
So true.
I'm like, well, I don't know. What do you guys want to hear? Or what's your favorite song? All of his friends, like, we were in Europe, and all these like soccer kids, like, what's your favorite song? I'm like, I like so much music at this point, guys. Like, I mean, I got a few, but
I love the Edition here.
I love it. Me too. Yeah, I played before pandemic. I need to get back in there. You know, I've been doing floor room so much, but I gotta. Yeah, Zen Freeman.
Zen's the best.
So dope.
Love
he always
him.
curates a great lineup.
Exactly, and it's like that's another one where you walk in and like you're just like,
cool vibe.
I'm in
Yeah.
Like I'm in another world.
I'm in another time.
Another time.
And the sound is great and the feeling and then
totally,
depending on who's DJing, it really
totally
makes it a better experience, you know? Because I've heard every genre in there and it's all fun.
It's always fun. And I love a lot of these like these big warehouses in Amsterdam and, you know, I was over there for ADE, which is one of my favorite things, and like
I still need to go.
Oh, you gotta go. Yeah, so much fun. And like Michael,
and it's more for like what, like electronic dance, and
it's all kind of dance music,
right?
But it is dance. It's very dance music. It's not really any pop. It's not really any rap. It's all dance music, but it's, you know,
but it's in Amsterdam
trance shit, or it's really cool house shit, or it's trap, or it's whatever. So,
so I'm sure there's so many external amazing events you get to go to and listen
incredible.
to DJs.
Like they have, you know, there's a crane, literally a crane with like 150 person room in the top, and they do a party in the crane.
Wow,
it's crazy, you know.
That's scary and cool.
Yeah, but you know, I mean. Yeah, it's just any of these things are like,
no, those are great.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's
amazing.
Good times.
What so I mean, I guess, you know, we can get out of here pretty soon, but
yeah, man. I mean, anything else?
I mean,
you know,
no,
we
covered a lot of cool stuff, I think. You know, I could go on forever, honestly, but I some of the things I'd written down, honestly, you just sort of talked about them naturally, and I mean, so interesting to hear your process. And also, I know I saw you just DJ'd at the Edition yourself. So you're still DJing.
Still DJing.
Still doing your thing.
And I think it's like, you know, as an A&R, even Craig, like back, you know, when he was doing his thing, he kept DJing way after he needed to, because the testing a song on a crowd is like, there's like, you can't, you know, I don't know. You can't substitute for that.
Right.
So for me, I'm like, I like to DJ. I like to go out. I like to do the thing and whatever, all the reasons. But it's also like, it keeps you sharp, you know, and it keeps you knowing your instincts. So like, I want to, you know, I think there's like a kind of a trifecta of like studio, DJ, executive, and they all serve each other. And I encourage people who are doing one to try the other, and you know, just like be open to like, you know, other people coming in and doing that, and I think there's sometimes a tendency to put people in boxes, and
yes, there is.
I really am like, I break out of that box myself whenever I can, but also like for, you know, for other people, and it's probably a lot of DJs who listen to your podcast, and it's like, do your thing, like get in the studio, make tracks, like collaborate. If someone is, you know, talking back to Quincy, he would say like, we get the best person to do the role. The best keyboard player plays the keys, the best mix engineer, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, don't be afraid to collaborate, but at the same time, bring your perspective to everything, and you know, like I said, make tracks, realize when you're connecting dots, like how plays can be made, like look into publishing, you know, learn about how songs are put together. You know, I mean, they make it so easy now. Spotify, credits, who wrote it. They have a whole page. It tells you who their publisher is. Like, it's
the only thing would be better is if I could just click the booklet or something and like flip through. I hate that I have to always go to the next song, push the 3 dots, hit credits. Look, I wish, I still miss like being able to thumb through a booklet. I wish there was an easy, like you could click on the image of the thing, and then it would open and you could flip through and just look at the credits, right? Because it's so tedious that by the middle of the album, I stop looking at who made the beats unless I hear it and I go, I gotta know. Because I'm like, 3 button. Okay. But like, if I could just,
if it was like, like the artwork.
Yeah, like I could see the artwork. I always picture like click it and it just flips over and it shows you like the credits, and then you could flip through.
Spotify, pay attention.
Come on.
You listening?
Or one of you guys.
Somebody.
Tidal, Apple, Beatsource. Beatsource, come on. Because Beatsource is going to be the people that really want to know, more than even the people at home. But that used to be one of my favorite things about buying music. You know, when I would buy, I mean, I'm very old, so I'd buy a cassette tape, I would buy a CD, and always I would I would put it on, and on the first song, I would open it up, and I would start reading. Okay, oh, that's who produced it. Oh, that's who wrote it. Oh, I don't know those names, but then I would recognize it on the next time, or who's that person?
Look them up, and they had the lyrics, and
or that's the rapper's real name. Oh, that's crazy. I didn't know that. So it was like, that was always the most fun, and that's what got taken away. That's why I was happy they added credits, because it wasn't even too long ago they added it.
And that was big when they It was.
But it's still a bit hard to get to. It's not as easy to.
It's not so accessible, but it's there.
But it's there. I always look at it,
and I think if you're interested, like, you gotta look and you gotta see who did what and Google them and see what they're You know, and there's this whole world, and it's like, we didn't really get into publishing and all that, but like a lot of what I do is like, you know, spending time with publishers and like, who's your new songwriter, like, play me stuff, like and just understanding
and that's when publishers will make a deal with someone and sign them to their publishing company, and they're actively trying to pitch the person's music.
Correct. Exactly.
Either songwriting or pre-done songs or whatever it is. So then the artist gets a piece, but the publisher gets a piece as well, and then whoever they're working with, the label or you, the A&R, get.
Usually labels don't participate in publishing. Labels only participate in master. So but anyway, all that to say, like, just super important to, like, sometimes these things, even to me, when I was starting off, I was like, nah, nerd shit, I don't care, it's gonna make me it's gonna get in my head in the wrong way. But like, you learn about this stuff, and then what it does is it opens up lanes where you're like, oh, so if Johnny gives me a beat and then I take it to, you know, the studio session over here and I play it and the artist wants it, now all of a sudden I'm kind of like a producer, or you know, like you're somewhere in the deal, you're doing providing value, and you're doing something, and that's something that I think, you know, DJs like DJ Esco for Future, like, he picks beats and has access to Future. That's what he does, and that is like just as, if not more, valuable than being able to program the hi-hats or whatever. So
totally.
Anyway,
no, and he's with Future in moments that no one else is, you know, and going on tour with them, and you know, performing with them at probably Dre's or wherever they
which
play.
Is super important. But then it's like, I think something that, you know, again, that I just want to like drive home for your audience is like, then having the other side of it, because I know a lot of DJs who are like with this artist or that artist or this, you know, they're in the situations, but they might not have, you know, thought to or put in the legwork of having the other side of it, of like, hey, here's a folder of beats I have from kids that I can clear, that, you know, that I'm the guy for these, you know?
It doesn't always, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't know how to produce, or like, I wish I would have gotten production. It's like, but I'm sure you know 20 people that do, or even 2 people that do, you know?
Exactly.
Have them send your stuff, and then you could have it. And as a DJ, you're always thinking, this could go with this, and this would be cool with this, and you're making the mashups. You can create that situation in real life.
So yeah, just wanting to emphasize that, like, A&R and DJing, tons of overlap in the skill set, and like wanting to encourage, you know, more DJs to do shit like that. You know? And if they find hot beats, send them to me.
Send it to Bailey Small, baby. maybe not DM, but
don't DM it. Email it. If you email it to me, I will listen to it.
Okay, that's good to know. I felt like email's been dying a little lately, but I've been getting more DMs than anything, really. Everyone wants to go over.
It's tough, because DM, and then it's like, you know,
then you lose track. I can't find it in my. I forget even the person's name in my Instagram. I lose track of someone, and they probably think I'm dissing them, but I don't remember their name, or I can't find them in my messages.
If you email me, I'm gonna see it when I'm in a zone of like, the only time I'm checking my email is like, I'm in front of speakers, I'm at my laptop, I'm doing the job. It's work time. You DM me, I'm like, I might be out, like, yo.
You're like, I'll check this later. Okay, I'm at Tale of Us.
Gone. Exactly. So
that's cool.
By the time this comes out, I guess the Tale of Us or the Anima album will be out, which I'm a co-writer on the single "Save Me."
Amazing.
So that is very exciting.
Dope. I didn't even realize that. I was just bringing it up.
That'll be Friday.
So cool. Oh yeah, this will probably come out next week. So
love it.
As you're listening to this, it is out. So go check it out. Amazing. Okay, I can't wait.
So anyway, just like I said, man, like get out there, connect with people, listen to shit. Like make the decisions. As DJs, we're decision makers, really.
Right.
Like,
right.
That's
right, and feel good about those
to.
decisions. You know, be in your conviction, trust yourself, and
for sure.
Is there any other things you want to leave? I mean, that's a lot of great things, but any other things we missed or stuff you want to leave with the audience?
I don't know. No, I think that's
that was
lot
perfect,
of it, man. Like it's just good to be here and
totally. Thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it. I mean, I learned a lot, and I try to facilitate for my audience, things that I think they would want to know, and people listening from all over the world that are super experienced and just starting out, so I think it's cool for them to hear this side of things. And
so AI doesn't replace us, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Oh my God. No, you don't want AI to replace A&R.
AI&R? Yo, that's crazy.
AI&R. I'm sure someone's developed that application.
Right here. Cut this part. We need to patent this.
Yeah, exactly. AI&R. It's coming out. Oh my
God.
I'm sure that exists.
Dropping with Beatsource.
Yeah.
ASAP.
Yeah, it studies the Beatsource, charts.
Research is another. We could get into that. That's another huge thing now of mentioning. There's different types of A&Rs. There's A&Rs who are just like watching shit that's already out and seeing like what's independent, that's out, that's bubbling, and then getting on it and getting a deal done.
Is there any like teams of A&Rs where it's like the Avengers, where it's like you're good at that, you're good at that?
100%.
Okay.
That's how
a lot of stuff gets made.
At least I know our department, and that's certain
and that's why there's senior ones and ones that have ones under them that are learning, and they give them different
coordinators
tasks.
And different tasks and different research team, and when an idea comes through and it needs to be like workshopped up in the studio, it gets kicked to me a lot because I'm here and I've sort of carved that out. When when there's something bubbling up and we need to do due diligence on it, like I'll kick that over to like our research guys who just are whizzes with they can tell you. They're like, yeah, this is gonna make in 3 years, it'll make about this much money based on projections,
Oh my God.
And I mean, things change, but they're usually in the ballpark.
That's crazy.
That's
nuts.
Anyway,
so much data collection and
a lot out there, but there's so much out there that it's like the most important thing is finding the thing that you can do and just stick with it, and don't be ignorant of other shit, but don't get caught up because like you said, people, I wish I got into production. Well, you didn't, but you're a great DJ, and you know a ton of people, so go figure it out with what you got,
Right. Yeah. No, that's amazing. All right, yo, thank you for coming through.
Thank you for having me, brother.
And we'll see you.
See you at Flow Room or something.
See you at Flow Room this Friday. I'll see you there.
I'll
play your song.
Right?
I'll play the Tale of Us.
Yeah. Oh my God. No, I think if you played it there, they would kick you off the deck. It's a little too fucking ravey.
I'll bring a TV screen, put it up behind me sideways. With the guy hanging above me.
Yo.
Don't send that to
Tale of me.
Yeah, Tale of me. Just Tale of me. And you're fired. No. Might work. I definitely want to hear it though. And
I'll play it for you,
I could play it Sunday in Jersey is where I could play it.
They're gonna freak out.
I definitely have 3 completely different gigs this weekend. So from Hollywood to Austin to Jersey to New York, I'm sure I'll be able to drop it somewhere in there.
There's a lot of variety in there.
Yes, yeah, I'm hitting all angles of the United States.
Isn't that great that and again, man, it's like you're thinking about how music relates to an audience, and that to me is such an important skill of an A&R of okay, in this city, in this crowd, they're gonna want that. And I'm
going to be in Hollywood Friday with a specific kind of crowd that's going to want a specific kind of things, where the people I'm working for also want it to be a specific kind of vibe. And I have to be very exact on what I'm doing there, and trust myself, and every decision I make, I have to stick by it. And if they come over and go, what the hell, this sucks,
you literally stand behind it as a DJ. You're
Totally. Yeah. And then the next night, totally different Austin, Texas, and then Jersey. And yeah, exactly. You have to constantly adjust. And that's what an open format DJ in a way is good at doing, and why it plays into, and just a DJ as a whole, and people that love music. I think that's what
paying attention to people, and you're reading rooms and reactions.
It's that psychology thing where you're saying if you take yourself out of it, it's hard to come back even after the pandemic when they're like, play all new hip hop. And I'm like, oh, how do I do that? I'm getting back. And then now I'm more comfortable in it. But when I had to go back to Vegas at first and play all new hip hop, and I'm so much older than everybody, I'm like, all right, I got to figure this out, and
then
you got
to sharpen that.
You get back
skill.
in the zone and learn what's that they want to hear, Pound Town or whatever is happening.
I don't even know what that is. I love
Ski Yee, like all these weird songs.
Ski Yee. I think that's how we'll sign off. Ski Yee.
Ski Yee. All right, yo.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate you,
man.
All
right,
yeah.
Peace. Yeah. All right, thank you to Bailey Small for coming in and taking the time to share all that info with us. That was so amazing. I learned so much. Great dude, and hopefully you guys learned a lot too. Thank you guys, the Beatsourcers, for tuning in. The 20 podcast is produced by Beatsource. Join us next week for more interviews as we discuss music that matters to DJs. I'm DJ Spider signing off. Peace.